Hare Krishna. Can you hear my voice? Am I audible? Okay, let's start. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. We have been discussing from the 10th chapter of the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The chapter is titled as King Rahugana chastises Jadabharata. So that is the title of the chapter. And we saw in this chapter already that on the bank of Ikshumati river, King Rahugana was traveling on a palanquin, and the palanquin bearers were running short of manpower, so they were looking for someone to carry, a suitable person to carry. They found Jadabharata very strong and stout and well built and quite suitable for this particular job. And because he was of his, the way he was covered with dust and everything, his being a very exalted Vaishnava or his being a Brahmana was not very clear. Even the um, Brahmin thread was actually so soiled that it camouflaged with the color of the body or color of his skin that they could not clearly notice that he was a Brahmana. So they thought he must be a Shudra. They engaged him forcefully in carrying the palanquin, and but he was walking very incoherently because he was trying to observe if he was injuring any ants or insects. So because he was walking like that, the palanquin started to rock, and Rahugana became angry. So he chastised the palanquin bearers. And the palanquin bearers understood that if he has already started with chastising, then the next will be punishment directly. So we have to communicate to uh, the king that it's not us. So they went and communicated that he is the one who is not walking properly, even though he has just been engaged by us. So it's not that he is tired or anything of that sort. So I think we cannot carry the palanquin with him. It will be impossible. And mm, uh, uh, the king, Rahugana, understanding that this is a serious problem. I mean, this is a real problem. If one person is not performing the job, mm, that group activity will definitely be the result of the group activity will be affected. So he chastised Jadabharat in a very sarcastic way. Um, uh, so he said that, "Oh, my dear brother, it is clearly difficult. You are very tired. You have traveled a long path for a long time and you are carrying the load all alone. And look at you, you are not at all healthy. Your limbs are not very strong and you are afflicted with old age. And it is that only the other palanquin bearers are not cooperating with you. You are the one who is doing very well." Like that, in very sarcastic way, even though Rahugana was in general in mode of goodness, but he was doing his job of correcting, and it was quite unclear about Bharat Maharaj's position or Jadabharata's position. So it was not wrong on Rahugana's part actually, because Avispashta Brahma Tejasa it is mentioned. This Brahma Tejas was not at all spashta, it was not at all clear. And it was the role of the king to correct and chastise Shudras. Otherwise, if he does not publicly do it and allow one of his citizens to misbehave with him, then that would give an unfavorable impetus for the other citizens also to misbehave with the king. So he was doing his job. It's not that he was overly consumed by Rajoguna. Whatever was needed to play the role of a king, he was showing it to Jadabharata, whom he thought was just any normal Shudra. And after hearing this chastisement, Jadabharata continued to, he remained silent and he continued to carry the palanquin as before, the same kind of uh, inappropriate way, you know, stuttering and stopping and jumping and things like that. And again, the palanquin started to rock, and this time the king became even more angry. So this time he was even more heavy. He said, "You fool, what are you doing? Are you dead despite having life within the body? You are disregarding me and you are not carrying out my order. I am your master, I am the king. So therefore, I have a remedy for your inattention. Just as Yamaraj punishes the people in general, therefore, I will punish you in the same way so that you will come back to your senses." So, in this way, when the king spoke incoherently, Naradeva Abhimanam, thinking himself to be a king and thinking himself very, very learned, uh, while he was abusing the perfected devotee, Jadabharata, but Bharata, with a slight smile and with no pride, then spoke to the king, who did not know about the nature of the conduct of great yogis who had attained the stage of Brahman. He did not know. So he was talking like this because he could not identify who he really was. So Jadabharata spoke in response to Rahugana. He said, Tvayoditam vyaktam avipralabdam bartuhu samesyad yadi veera baraha gantur yadi syad adigamya madva piveti rashau navidam pravadaha. He said, O king, now Jadabharata speaks with little bit of sarcasm. He said, O king, I don't think you have spoken with sarcasm. I don't think you have spoken with deceit. Actually, yes, it is only if the burden of the carrier belonged to me, the soul, only if the destination and the path of the traveler belonged to me, the soul, would your statements be taken as sarcasm. But I am not this body, I am the soul. And you said that I am not very well nourished. To be nourished or not nourished, it is not the talk of a person in knowledge. Again, we discussed about this yesterday. I will, not yesterday, of course, day before yesterday. We have to understand as a king, Rahugana definitely had to act and deal with people on the level of body. Even though Rahugana might be a self-realized person, so but um, he cannot act on the platform of soul. Uh, uh, so he has to address people, especially while taking care of the ruling of the kingdom and taking care of his citizens. He has to deal on the bodily platform only. And here is Jadabharata, whom he is seeing as one of his citizens and a Shudra. I mean, he has to, yeah, from another sense, he may see him as a spirit soul having the potential to perform bhakti. But as a king, he has to deal with him on the level of the body also. So, as a king, he had to chastise and correct the Shudra, uh, citizen of his kingdom. And that's what he was doing. There was nothing wrong in what Rahugana did, actually. Okay. Any king would have done the same thing. Even when Lord Ramachandra, when he was going around his kingdom and he saw a Shudra who was dressed like a Brahmana performing great tapasya, he understood that it was inappropriate. It was inappropriate. That was Shambhuka. So his name was Shambhuka. Lord Ramachandra understood that this will lead to serious deviant behavior within the society very soon. So he quickly took out his sword and chopped off the head of that particular person in order to set the right precedent for others who might think of imitating higher personalities. So this is what Lord Ramachandra did. Okay. So, even though Lord Ramachandra is the supreme personality of Godhead himself, he had to act on the platform of the body, because he understood that Shambhuka was acting on the platform of body only. He was acting on the platform of body without being properly qualified. So there is no point dealing with a person who is on the bodily consciousness um, on the platform of soul, because he will not be able to understand and relate to it. So Rahuguna's action till now is spotless. It is spotless. Actually, he cannot be criticized. But Jadabharata has a particular purpose. Jadabharata understanding that there is limited time, and I wish to show my compassion to Rahuguna in a very tangible way. So this is not a conversation where Jadabharata is not in the mood of establishing I am right, you are wrong. Okay. So Jadabharata's statements, the in Jadabharata's statements, the sarcasm that he is using to address Rahuguna is born purely out of compassion. It is a compassion-driven sarcasm because he wants to genuinely show his mercy to Rahuguna by giving him knowledge of the soul and knowledge of bhakti. With the limited time available for him, with Rahuguna, he wanted to ensure that Rahuguna progresses on the path of bhakti. So here, uh, the conversation may uh, seem to be little discordant, while Rahuguna is speaking on one level and Jadabharata is speaking on another level. It's not that Jadabharata is just trying to prove that he is right from the perspective of a soul, and Rahuguna was just speaking on the platform of body and he was inferior. It's not a response to Rahuguna out of his hurt false ego. uh, that on the spiritual platform he wants to prove that Rahuguna was wrong. That was not the desire of Jadabharata, even though from the um, from the way in which the conversation is happening, one might be forced to come to such a conclusion that yes, actually Jadabharata heard the sarcastic comments of Rahuguna and he got offended, and in response he is trying to prove that uh, Rahuguna is wrong because he is talking on the bodily platform. I will speak on the spiritual platform and prove that he is wrong. No, that is not the mentality of Jadabharata. Okay. And, a person who is at the stage of prema, there is no question of his having, this kind of a mentality of wanting to prove himself right or even being affected due to false ego. There is no false ego. So even Jadabharata's usage of sarcasm as a tool to retort back is born out of compassion. Uh, it is born out of his compassion to help Rahuguna. Okay. So he is not actually, in many cases, he would not be directly answering Rahuguna's questions or on the platform at which the question is being asked. The question is being asked on the platform of body, but he would answer on the platform of soul. And oftentimes it may seem like the answer is very irrelevant. But Jadabharata knew what he was doing. And we will see towards the end of the conversation that it has a very favorable impact on uh, Rahugana. So, so here he says that to say that I am well nourished is not the talk of a person in knowledge. No, how is a king supposed to deal with his citizens? He's definitely going to talk on the platform of, you know, like he's not going to go and address Haribol, spirit souls, Hare Krishna, spirit souls. He's not going to address them like that. He has to deal with them on the platform of body only. Okay, so there was nothing wrong from the perspective of Rahugana, but Jadabharata had a different purpose. He had a different purpose. Hmm. So he said, strength, thinness, sickness, anxiety, hunger, thirst, fear, etc. They belong to a person who is born with a body and identifies with the body. Uh, they do not exist for me because I don't have any bodily consciousness. And my dear king, you called me as living dead. Jivan mritatvam niyamena rajan adyantavadyad vikritasya drishtam. Hmm. He said that, yes, you have said that I am living but dead. But isn't this true for everyone who has a material body, that the body is constantly dying? Hmm. Antavanta ime deha nityasyoktaha sharirina. Hmm. So, so therefore, uh, you know, if I am living dead, what are you? Is your body any different from my body? Uh, that's what he's asking. Is your body any different from my body? Am I the only living dead person, or are you also a living dead? Okay. And you said that, oh, Bhartuhu Shasanam Aticharasi. You are you are not following the rules and the instructions of the master. So now my question is, oh, is the master servant situation fixed? Uh, have you always been my master? Okay, like that. Uh, so this is where we ended our discussion day before yesterday. Again, as I mentioned, this week I am in Chowpatty Temple, so we will end our session um, at 8:15. So I will speak for another half an hour or so, and 15 minutes we will have for discussion. Okay, and then Radha Pramod Prabhu will take over. Okay, let us start. So this is Jadabharata speaking to Rahuguna. So he says, Vishesha buddhe vivaram manakcha pashyama yanna vyavaharatonyat ka ishwarastatra kimishitavyam tatapi rajan karavama kimte. More sarcasm. So he says, vyavaharato anyat, other than convention. Okay. Other than convention, yad na pashyama manakcha, I do not even see even little bit Vishesha buddher vivaram, any distinction between of master and servant. Ideally, the Supreme Lord is the master, all the jivas are servant. The other designations of master and servant are on the bodily platform, and I am not on the bodily platform. So how am I to see you as the master and see myself as your servant? So other than convention, other than convention, okay. So conventional reality is not real reality. Conventional reality is not real reality. Okay. So, okay. So then he says, Ka Ishvara Tatra Kimishitavyam. Who is the master and who is the servant? O Rajan, Karavama Kimte. If you think that you are the king, what can I do for you? If you are still convinced that no, this is not a conventional reality, this is absolute reality, that you are always the king and I am always the servant, then, my dear master, can you please tell me what can I do for you? Huh? What can I do for you? So, the Jadabharata, Rahugana may say, yes, the um, the master-servant relationship is not eternal. You don't have to eternally serve me. But as long as I am the king, I am the master. In response to this, Jadabharata says, I do not see even a little opportunity for distinction of servant and master other than convention. But if you are very much attached to your upadhi of being the king and being my master, then please tell me, my dear sir, what can I do for you? So Raghuna says, I am the king. As long as I am the king, I am the master. And Jadabharat says, that is again bodily consciousness. It seems like you are very much attached to your upadhi. But I am sarvopadi vinirmuktam. So you may see yourself as my master, but because I am not on the same platform as you, I don't see you as my master. But if you are convinced that your perception is correct, then I agree. Tell me, my dear master, what can I do for you? This is again sarcasm. But this is sarcasm born out of compassion. Then Jadabharata continues. Unmattamatta jadavat. Unmattamatta jadavat. Unmattamatta jadavat swasamstam. Gatasya me वीरचिकित्सितेन अर्थक्कियान् भवता शिक्षितेन स्तब्ध प्रमत्तस्य च पिष्टपेशः. O king, kiyan artah chikitsena. You said you will give me punishment. Can I know what purpose are you planning to serve by punishing swasamstam gatasya me, by punishing a person who has attained Brahman? If I say I have attained Brahman, huh, I say that I have attained Brahman, okay. But if you are not convinced of that, can't you even see from a mundane perspective, from a very external perspective, I clearly look like a mad man or a dull person. Okay. So whether you see me as a self-realized person or a mad man or a dull person, my question is, by chastising, by punishing a person who is a madman or a dull person or a Brahman realized person, what are you planning to achieve? What is your goal? Huh? Stabda pramattasya sikshitena pishtapeshaha. Punishing a madman is like pounding powder. This is called as pishtapeshana nyaya. So pishtapeshana nyaya means to engage in a redundant activity. Okay. If you have a machine or a mortar and a pestle, whatever it may be, by which you can actually uh, pulverize a grain into powder. Okay. So if you have already reached the fineness, which is the limit of that particular machine, by allowing it to grind for another 5 minutes, you are not accomplishing anything. You are just wasting electricity. Or if it is not an electricity driven machine, if it is physical, uh, uh, endeavor based machine, then all you are doing is wasting your energy because the desired the the capacity of the machine to pound it to a particular degree of fineness or coarseness has already been achieved. So what do you achieve by pounding the powder more and more? Nothing is going to happen. So which means you are engaging in a redundant, useless activity. Pishta peshana nyaya. So he says that, look, if I say, if you actually look at the Shastras, the kind of symptoms that I am showing, you will realize that there is a good chance that I may be a self-realized person. Or from a very mundane perspective, if you see, I am a dumb, dull-witted madman. Now, my question to you is, King, you are speaking so powerfully, chastising. Don't you have even the common sense that what are you planning to achieve or accomplish by chastising and punishing a person who may be self-realized or Brahman realized person? But if you are not aware of the symptoms of such a person, then at least from an external perspective, I am looking like a madman. What what goal are you planning to achieve by punishing a madman? Okay, that's what he's asking. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, you have said that you will punish me for being inattentive. What do you hope to accomplish by verbally or physically punishing a person who is situated in Brahman? Though he may appear to be mad for liberated persons, uh, though he may appear to be mad, for liberated persons do not accept either what is useful or not useful. So if you say that I am not liberated but mad and dull, then by your punishment you are grinding what is already ground. Just as by pounding powder you do not recreate a solid object, but finer powder. By punishing the mad person, one does not pacify madness, but one makes him more insane. So, yes, you are doing the role of a king, but are you really doing the role of a king? Does playing the role of a king means that you give up your common sense? I am not asking that you see me as a Brahman realized person, but can't you even see me from a mundane perspective, a mad man? What are you trying to accomplish by punishing a madman? Okay, that's what Jadabartha is asking. So Sukadeva Goswami, so by now, these were the few words that Jadabartha spoke, and now Rahuguna's response is very uh, instructive. So Sukadeva Goswami narrates to us the response of Rahuguna. Shri Shuka Uvacha, एतावद् अनुवाद परिभाषया प्रत्युदीर्य मुनिवर उपशमशील उपरत आनात्म्य निमित्त उपभोगेन कर्म आरब्धं व्यपनयन् राजयानम् अपि तथा उवाह. Very important verse and very important commentary. एतावत् प्रत्युदीर्य, thus answering the king, anuvada paribhashaya, through repeating the king's questions with explanations. Uh, Are you mad? So whatever the king spoke, Jadabharata repeated it and gave his own commentary to it. Okay. Thus answering the king through repeating the king's questions and with explanations. Munivara, the best of the sages, Jadabharata, karma arabdam vyapanayan, finishing his prarabdha karmas. Now finishing his prarabdha karmas means whose prarabdha karmas? Okay, these things have to be discussed. We will discuss it. But in the meantime, just give me a second. It has reached 100, the number of devotees. So I will just share the YouTube link in the group. Just give me 1 second. Almost done. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's continue. So thus answering the king through repeating the king's questions with explanations, the best of the sages Bharata, finishing his prarabdha karmas. Now finishing whose prarabdha karmas? This is a question. Okay, let's see. Upabhogena, by experiencing them in this way, Uparata anatnya nimitta, and having destroyed all causes of material bodies, Upashama Shila, with peaceful mind, Rajayanam api tata uaha, he resumed carrying the king's palanquin. So he did not even wait to see the response of the king. He started carrying the palanquin again. In this way, answering the king through repeating his questions and explanations, Bharat Maharaj finishing his prarabdha karmas by experiencing them in this way and having destroyed the cause of the material bodies, with a peaceful mind, he resumed carrying the king's palanquin. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, Bharata answered the king by explanations with repetition of the king's statements. Bharata had destroyed the cause of identification with the body, that is ignorance. That was already gone. If Bharata had no material identification, why did he appear to be unable to tolerate the king's words and thus answer him? What was the need? If he was not at all affected by the king's words, what was the need for Jadabharata to respond and respond with sarcasm? Uh, Respond with sarcasm. So if he was not at all affected, he could have continued carrying. He should not have responded. The very fact that he responded means that he was affected. Someone may say this. So if Jadabharata had absolutely no material bodily identification, why did he respond to Rahugana? This question arises. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti explains here. In order to destroy the king's prarabdha karma, recognized by enjoyment of royal wealth and power, in the guise of repeating the king's statements, by following the process of bhakti taught by Bharata by his mercy, the king could destroy his karmas. So, actually, Jadabharata wanted to destroy the prarabdha karma of the king. And how that could happen? That can happen when he receives the teachings of bhakti. Hmm. Uh, so that is why he responded. Hmm. Because he thought, here is a king who is capable of understanding and to whom I can bestow mercy in the form of good instructions. Uh, he is capable of assimilating mercy in that particular form. So he thought, and therefore he spoke like this. Or another meaning is he thought that he was destroying, Jadabharata thought that he was destroying uh, his own karmas. Upabhogena, by this experience, carrying the palanquin. So he thought that, okay, my um, prarabdha karma is not over. So my prarabdha karma is not over. So I have to destroy my prarabdha karma by experiencing this activity of carrying the king's palanquin. So I might as well not complain, and I can continue to carry the palanquin. So he continued. So out of his natural Vaishnava humility, he thought, okay, my prarabdha karma is not destroyed. Okay. So he thought that he was destroying his own karmas by this experience, carrying the palanquin. Since he did not consider himself a devotee, due to humility produced by prema. It's natural for a prema bhakta. So he thought, okay, let me destroy my prarabdha karma by experiencing the inconvenience of carrying the king's palanquin. Sa chapi pandaveya Sindhu Sauvirapatihi Tattva Jignasayam Samyak Shraddaya Adhikrita Adhikaras Tad Hridaya Granthi Mochanam Dvija Vacha Ashrutya Bahu Yoga Grantha Sammatam Tvaraya Avaruhya Shirasa Padamulam Upasritaha Kshamapayan Vigata Nripadeva Smaya Uvacha. Okay. So here, okay, he says, O Parikshit, O Pandaveya, Saha Sindhu Savirapatihi, that king of Sindhu and Savira province, that is Rahugana, Adhikrita Adhikaraha, having attained qualification, Tattva Jigyasayam Samyak Shraddaya, by complete faith in topics concerning the absolute truth, which means he had faith in Bhakti, and Jadabharata could see that. Dvijavata Vacha Ashrutya, on hearing the word of the Brahmana, Hridaya Granthi Mochanam, which untie the knot of the heart, Bahu Yoga Grantha Sammatam, and which were approved by all the yoga scriptures. Tvaraya Avaruhya, he quickly got down from the palanquin. Shirasa Padamulam Upasritaha, and he approached Bharata's feet with his head. Vigata Nripadeva Smaya, having given up pride as a king, Kshamapayan, and begging forgiveness, Uvacha, he spoke. So, Ravagana now had Ravagana had qualification for bhakti actually. He had faith. So that Ravagana, on hearing the words of Brahmana, which were capable of untying the knot of false ego within the heart, and which were approved by all the yoga scriptures, he literally jumped out of the palanquin and with his head, he approached the lotus feet of Jadabharata, because he realized he had made a great mistake by addressing a great personality in such an offensive way. Vigata Nripadeva Smaya, he had completely by then given up the pride of being a king, and he started begging forgiveness from Jadabharata. So Srila Vishwanath Jagadagur says, Adhikrita Adhikaraha means he had attained qualification. So Rahugana spoke. He says, Kastvam Nigodascharasidvijanam Bibarshi Sutram Katamo Vadutaha Kasyasi Kutratya Ihapi Kasmat Kshemayanasched Asinota Shuklaha. He says, Kastvam Dvijanam, who are you amongst the Brahmanas? So now he, under careful observation, Rahugana saw the Brahmin thread in the body of Jadabharata. He noticed it now. Kastvam Dvijanam, who are you amongst the Brahmanas? Nigudaha Charasi. You are moving about in a very hidden way. Bibarshi Sutram, you wear the sacred thread. Katamo Avadutaha, what kind of Avadut sage are you? Kasyasi, whose son are you? Kutratya, where were you born? Ihapi, and why are you here? Kasmat Kshemayanasched Asino Uta Shuklaha. Oh, maybe are you Lord Narayana who has come to benefit us? Or are you Kapila Dev? Who are you? Hmm. Srila Vishwanath Jagadakur says, who are you amongst the Brahmanas since you wear the thread? Are you Dattatreya the Avaduta? Whose son are you? Which state were you born in? If you have come to benefit us, are you not Narayana? Or are you not Kapila Dev? Like that. Then he says, नाहं विशङ्के सुरराजवज्रान् न त्र्यक्षशूलान् न यमस्य दण्डात् नाज्ञर्कसोमानिलवित्तपास्त्रात् शङ्के भृशं ब्रह्मकुलावमानात्. So he said, Na aham vishanke suraraja vajrat. Suraraja is Indra, the lord of the demigods. Vajra is his thunderbolt. And Rahuguna says, actually, my dear lord, my dear Brahmana, I am not afraid of the thunderbolt of Indra. Na Trayaksha Shulat. Trayaksha is the three-eyed lord, that is Lord Shiva. Shula is his trident. Nor am I afraid of the trident of Lord Shiva. Uh, Now, Yamasya Dandat, I am not afraid of the punishment of Yamaraja also. Na Agni Arka Soma Anila, nor am I afraid of the sun, moon, wind. Uh, Vittapa Astrat, nor am I afraid of the weapons of Kuvera. I am not afraid of any of these things. Shanke Brisham, but I have a great fear, Brahma Kula Avamanat, of offending a Brahmana. I don't wish to offend a Brahmana, but here I have offended a Brahmana, so I am I'm very, very afraid. Mm. I'm very, very afraid. That's what he says. Please forgive me. So in the previous verse, he spoke, who are this, who are you, and all that he spoke. And Jadabharata may say, sitting on your palanquin, what is the use of reflecting in this way? So Jadabharata says, if they try to kill me in battle, hmm, if they try to kill me in battle with their weapons, I'm not afraid, since I have my natural courage. Rather, I experience joy in such competition. Okay. Or, having offended them, I do not fear them when they attack me in anger with their weapons. Hmm. Tadbrohya sango jadavannigood vijnana viryo vicharasya parah vachamsi yoga gratitani sadho nanakshamante manasapi bhetum. Tadbruhi. Therefore, please speak, my dear sir. Asangaha, not associating with the material world, jadavat, and appearing dull-witted, niguda vijnana viryaha, but you certainly do have the power of realized knowledge. Vicharasi aparaha, you are wandering about with no one being superior to you. O sadho, O saint, na nahak shamante, I am not able to understand. Vachamsi yoga gratitani, your words about yoga. Manasa api betum, even though I am trying to understand with my attentive mind, my dear Lord, I am unable to understand your words about yoga. I am not able to understand your words about yoga. I am dull-witted. You are appearing dull-witted, but you are having the power of realized knowledge. But actually, I am dull-witted because I am not able to understand your words about this yoga, even though I am trying my best with my attentive mind. So therefore, please speak and say who you are. Who am I? Jadabharat says, oh, I am your palanquin bearer, he says. And Rahugana says, enough with trying to fool me. I know that you are a great yogi because your words about yoga cannot be understood by my mind. Or words concerning the yoga process, the teachings of the great yogis have not been able to cut my doubts, since I am very tough, though I desire to understand those words with my attentive mind without argument. I am a very tough person, so even though I desire to understand those words with my attentive mind, I cannot understand. Therefore, and many great sages have tried before, but still I could not understand. But my doubts have been cut by your answers today. That's what he's indicating. Okay, there is something wrong here. Two more verses, but this 19th verse is little incomplete. Let me complete it. Just give me a second. 5.10.19, 5.10.19. Okay. So, okay. I think we should have some time for discussion. So we'll pause here and see if there are any quick questions, comments, discussion points, and then we will continue the discussion tomorrow. There is something in the chat box. Let's take that first. Why was Jadabartha using sarcasm? Well, I think Jadabartha would have found out that that would create a very favorable impact. That would create a very favorable impact. Otherwise, definitely he was not affected on the level of false ego. So he must have noticed that there must have been some impact that could have been created by sarcasm. Only because of that he would have used it. Okay, there is another question. Thank you for your insights on the mood and position of Jadabartha and Rahuna. I am caught up in a similar situation that some of my friends who were very close kept distance for a long time after my serious uptake of Krishna consciousness. They come back when they get to taste the reality of the world, and at that time there is a tendency of responding in a material way. Sarcasm to prove they were wrong in the past, etc., for the false ego is hurt. How can we check this tendency and be compassionate? If we are actually compassionate, we can check this tendency. Because ultimately, because we are also, passion is there in us. Uh, Passion is there in us. See, we have to see that we could see what we could see because we were prior recipients of mercy of the devotees. And if the devotees would have dealt with us in a sarcastic way, then we would not have received that uh, sukriti. So similarly, if we retard back in a sarcastic way, trying to prove that they are wrong, then they lose out on the opportunity for getting that sukriti. So we have to see that whether we want to prove them wrong or we want to actually uh, help them come closer to Krishna. We have a great opportunity. If we succumb to the push of our false ego to, to show that they are, look how wrong you were. I was right all the while. Huh? It took you 5 years, 6 years to figure out such a foolish person. If we want to prove that, we can prove, but that will be the end of it. Okay, that will be the end of it. So they will never come back to us, and we will be the cause of their not taking up to Krishna consciousness. Uh, Yes, all the humiliation and all that we experienced when they were ridiculing us because they could not understand what we were doing. That is because they were not fortunate enough to receive the Sukriti through the association of Vaishnavas. We were fortunate. We were fortunate. So now we can create their fortune. It is possible. But for that, we should tolerate the pushing of our false ego while by understanding that they acted that way because they could not see the way we were seeing. They could not see what we were seeing. So that's not their fault. That's not their fault. And our ability to see is not our glory either. That is the glory of some other Vaishnava, some other compassionate Vaishnava. When our ability to see is not to our credit and their inability to see is not their fault, then why take uh, their uh, statements to the heart and get so affected by it? We should, it's not that they're outright refusing to see, but they're unable to see because of that lack of com- compassionate association of Vaishnavas. Okay. Mm, there is the next question. We should not offend a Brahmana, but what if he abuses a subordinate? Yeah, we have to, not that we should not address. We can address issues, but as much as possible, we should try to address them in a non-offensive way. Another comment or question, let me see. Jadabharata may be using sarcasm, but he was also paraphrasing Rahugana's questions. It is said that when one paraphrases another's questions or concerns, it makes the person more open, understood, and receptive. Yeah, probably that's also one of the reasons why Jadabharata was speaking like that. Okay, so looks like there are no more questions. So let me. Okay, there's another question in the chat box. Please clarify, what does the word upadhi mean? Upadhi means our self-identification um, on the bodily platform. That is upadhi. I am a male, I am a human being, I am an Indian. These are all upadhis. Okay. So here in the case of Jadabharata, sorry, Rahugana, he had the upadhi of being a king, like that. Okay, Sham Sundaranand Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, Dandavat.
With respect to that aspect of respect, Rahugana was saying that I am the master, even though you don't think that our identities are permanent.
Mhm,
Right now, I am the master and you are the servant.
mhm.
So you have to obey me.
Yeah.
So in this case, in this case, Rahugana is a perfect king, and Jadabharat is a proper saintly person, right?
Mhm,
Who is
mhm.
acting as a subordinate. But in
Yeah.
our day-to-day dealings, neither the master nor the servant both are neither true masters nor the true servants,
Yeah.
right? So in those situations, how this relationship of a master servant holds, whether because these relationships are meant for a smooth functioning of the society,
Mhm.
uh, so they need to be existent, and there is a point in Rahugana's talk that this needs to be respected as a
Yeah.
king, as we already discussed also.
Yeah.
But then our masters in our practical relationships, people do understand each other's frailties, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So in those cases, how good this aspect holds, whether they should be there or not, like how do we understand this?
They should be there or not, matlab? Meaning?
That relationship needs to be there, whether there should be a respect to the master, and how should the master look at the servant, and how should the servant look at the master?
Well, the principle is sakale samman korite shakati dehonata jata jata. So, according to their level of progress, that level of respect should be given. And also, if there is an officially, mm, mm, if there is an official position that has been given to people, that position also has to be respected. because the person may not be qualified enough to receive the respect that the position deserves, but a qualified person has appointed him in that position. So by showing respect, we may be showing respect to the qualified person who has appointed him in that position. So, so therefore, we see that Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur in his Chaitanya Shikshamrit, he says that definitely spiritual development is one of the reasons, one of the main parameters to give respect, but then that does not mean the other parameters should be completely neglected. Okay. So one of the parameters is, his skill in managing also. That is a skill, and we have to respect that. Age is a factor that respect has to be given. Okay. So like that, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur establishes the hierarchy of Maryada. He says the highest in that hierarchy is spiritual, devotional progress. But then he then subsequently talks about Varna Maryada, Ashrama Maryada, and then many, many different types of Maryada he talks about. So, so therefore, the principle is that uh, our goal should be to respect. Okay. We should give proper respect. That should be our goal. When that goal is there, then we can think about, how to appropriately respect this person according to his position, like that.
Okay. So this is it with respect to the giver of the respect.
Yeah.
What if we are in a position of receiving respect, right? Rahugana is saying that Jadabharat superficially is the palanquin bearer and he is the king and he has to
Mhm.
obey.
Yeah.
So now, if in the world, if our subordinates, whoever it is, they
Mhm.
don't respect us,
Mhm.
or how do we take it? Do we take it on the spiritual platform, saying that it is my own karma which is coming back in this situation like this, and tolerate it and move ahead, or is it like we have to do something about to fix the situation?
Well, on a personal level, we have to take that, it is quite clear that I am not commanding that respect. So maybe I don't deserve that respect. From a spiritual
Mhm.
perspective, that's how we should see. Okay.
Okay. Mm,
So Krishna has shown
mm,
that I don't command that kind of respect, so I don't deserve that respect.
mm,
So from a spiritual perspective, that's how we should see. But
mm,
if that not showing respect is going to affect the functioning of the society
mm.
in a particular way, then we have to address it in as much Krishna conscious way as possible without demanding that respect. But as much as possible, try to see if we can mm, inspire that person to do not as a um, as an act of subordination to me, but as cooperation for the functioning of the Krishna conscious society for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. So if we can inspire him in that direction, that is very good. But the more we try to use our power and position to push the person and force him to do, then that may not be good.
Okay. Okay, Prakash.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So I think we will pause here and we will continue this discussion tomorrow. Thank you all very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Pad ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.